Speedway Report is produced and broadcast by the Zeus Radio Network for Racers Reunion Radio. Well, yesterday was the 51st annual Snowball Derby. The Dome at the Americas Center hosted the Gateway Indoor Dirt Nationals. They got a little ways to go until they're 51 years old, and we lost a revered race fan over the weekend. We'll talk about all this and more coming right up. Welcome to Speedway Report. It is Monday, December the 3rd, 2018, from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. I'm Patrick Reynolds, and thank you for joining the fastest half hour in racing. What did I tell you? We could keep going week to week with the Victory Lane Lap and tell you who won what. Not a lot on the docket this week in the first weekend of January or December. I'm getting way ahead of me there. But still two big ones that happened over the weekend, and one that's going to carry over until next weekend due to Mother Nature. The Gateway Indoor Dirt Nationals were held in St. Louis, so weather obviously not an issue there. But big money up for grabs with 30 grand in the late models, 10 grand in the sprints, and another 10 in the modifieds as they ran Thursday, Friday, Saturday with so many A and B mains, finally getting to the big show on Saturday. The late model race won by Bobby Pierce, only 40 laps, but nice 30,000 to win. Modifieds taken by Mike Harrison. And the midgets, the name you've become very familiar with over the past few years, Christopher Bell. And you're going to hear a lot of him in the Monster Energy Cup Series, probably talking about a championship for him, I'm going to say within the next 7 or 8 years in the Cup Series, and that's not going out on the limb. Let's head down to Pensacola, Florida, where the annual Snowball Derby was held. Mother Nature had her way down there. We got the big show in, but we'll get you up to speed on what happened and what did not. Wednesday's pure stock 50-lapper was won by Caleb Burkett, who crossed the line third. He was awarded the win after 4 out of the top 5 were disqualified for tech infractions in the Room of Doom. Now, Thursday's Outlaw Stocks race was taken by Jeremy Pates, and the Sportsman 50-lapper by Shanna Ard. Friday's modified race was postponed by rain right after Snowball Derby time trials got in. So that was put to Saturday. Saturday total flooded, washed out. The modified race, the Pro Truck race, and the Pro Late Model Snowflake 100 were all postponed until this coming Saturday night at Five Flags Speedway. So everybody that made the trek down there for the past week, everybody's home now. A lot may go back on Saturday for the big Snowflake 100. And yesterday, they ran the Snowball Derby. Noah Gragson was your winner. We'll talk about that race here shortly and his infamous Trophy Queen kiss miss. Nice effort for Gregson's part, but making the rounds on social media, funny stuff. Let's talk about that right away. Why not get it out of the way? It was somewhat laughable, I guess you'd call it. The Trophy Queen, nice, pretty young girl, Noah, a young guy, just wins the race, young single dude, and he wanted to kiss the Trophy Queen just like old school. And she wouldn't let him. She swerved a little bit. There was a hug that it was a congratulatory deal, and no kiss involved. Now, a little bit of a backstory to that. The video of him leaning in to try to get a kiss, I don't know if it went viral or not, we'll call it that, but made a lot of rounds on social media. The first place I saw Corey LaJoy tweeted it, and it looked spectacular as far as the comedy department. We loved it, and Gregson got a lot of fun made of him for it. Thought it was kind of cool. But here's the backstory, is that the Trophy Queen knew her job, stand there, represent the Speedway, congratulate the winners, had the sash on and the whole 9 yards. So that was cool for Gregson. She said that she gets to pose with the winner, shake his hand, congratulate him. She's in all the victory lane shots, but she didn't have to kiss him. That was not part of the deal. Gregson goes in for the kiss. She swerves and misses it. After the fact, the cameras are off. This is later on. Got the word from Gregson that the two of them talked, and the girl said, "Hey, I'm not going to kiss you. I haven't even met you yet. We haven't even been introduced. I don't know who you are other than you're the race winner." Well, believe it or not, Gregson did get her number. So young single guy gets the number of the pretty girl. Not a bad happy ending to the story. Pretty good for him, but kind of comical with all the stories that did surround the Snowball Derby. all the stories that could have surrounded the Snowball Derby but didn't. You know what I'm talking about. We'll get to that shortly. But I thought it was, I wasn't there, but I thought it was a riot to watch that. Added a little personality and humor to the 300-lap super late model race. Now, before the kiss, I wondered, as we do every year going into this weekend, why in the world is the Derby not on TV? We made the pitch to Speed TV so many years ago when they were very big in motorsports. This still existed, basically. And why don't you have this on TV? Yet everybody's reason, and it's a legitimate one, is, well, it costs money. Where's the money going to come from? I understand that completely. It's just like running a race team, anything. You need sponsors and advertisers in order to make this thing happen. Yet so many other events do. I look at all the NASCAR coverage we get on NBC, Sports Network, and FS1, and Cup practice is always televised. Yet I always was boggled by, how come we can watch practice? Granted, it's the marquee series, but it's just practice. And this is an actual race that we can't get on television. I never really got that. I would much rather watch a good race, which the Derby is, versus just a random practice session just because they're the stars and darlings of the stock car world up in the upper crust of NASCAR. In years past, and it was this year too, the Snowball Derby weekend fell on the same weekend as the NASCAR Cup Awards, wherever they were held, in New York, Las Vegas, what have you. And the award show always got on television, which it was this year. So it wasn't a scheduling conflict, as the Cup had their award ceremony on Thursday night. So it's not like a television conflict was there between that and the Derby. However, why would the Cup Awards get televised? We can get sponsorship for that. Yet an actual race, again, goes by the wayside just because it is a super late model race and not a Cup race. I have zero interest in watching these guys in their tuxedos and their brides and reading a teleprompter out in Vegas. I don't know. I don't care. That I have 0.0 interest in that. None. Yet I have tremendous interest in the Snowball Derby and that cheese grater of a racetrack. That is like Darlington, North Wilkesboro, Rockingham, all the great tracks that we love, my Racers Reunion friends. It is a tire eater, a cheese grater, wears at those tires left and right, really puts the win and the performance very much back into the driver's hands. And that is the kind of track that we like. We need more of them. This race is on the internet on pay-per-view. Speed 51 carries it year after year. You can buy a whole week package or just day-by-day package, depending on what you want. So you can watch it. You can follow it on social media online. However, a network continues to not pick up the Derby. Why can we get sponsorship for millionaire race car drivers, some of them with a silver spoon in their mouth already, in tuxedos, cashing their checks and getting their trophies out in Vegas, reading a teleprompter, yet we cannot get sponsorship for the biggest pavement super late model race there is? I first read about the Derby back in, I want to say, the early 1980s, probably an issue of the old Circle Track or Speedway Scene, something like that. It's always been a bucket list race of how big this thing was. The laps have varied between 200, 300 plus a few years. I've never been, and it holds true at 300 this year, but it is something I'll eventually get to. I was going to go this year, had an opportunity to work an event here closer to home in Charlotte. I took advantage of that as opposed to going down to Pensacola this year. So the Derby remains on my bucket list at least until 2019. I just don't get why we can get millionaire Cup drivers in tuxedos sponsored to broadcast their awards ceremony, yet we can't get actual racing on the air. Good racing at that. Cup practice we can get. Cup guys in tuxedos we can get. Super late model racing, although this is their Daytona 500, we just can't get that on television. I don't get that. We've got taped showings of various events, like we could see the Knoxville Nationals, the King's Royal. What else we got? The Chili Bowl. That's all. These things have all been live and taped versions of them over the years. These managed to happen. I don't think a Snowball Derby has ever actually made the cut for television. If you if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments when you guys are watching. If we're trolling, if we're scrolling through here, and you guys talk about the Derby. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But I don't think it's ever made it to television. And I thought about the days at TNN when they would grab the ASA or the All Pro Series. We would see events. Remember the Act Tour as well. We would see a lot of random short track events. They had their Busch Series events, but they would grab a big short track race here and there. And I know they had a lot of the ASA races, especially as the ASA grew and then finally blew up and filtered out. But TNN, I remember being at Pensacola for an ASA race. They broadcast it. So it can be done, but I don't think the Derby, as big as it is, has ever been televised. It has such a cachet effect to it. We can go the iconic races of the Indy 500 for the Indy cars, the Daytona 500 for the NASCAR Cup guys, the World 100 for dirt late models, Knoxville Nationals, the sprint cars, for the sprint cars. And, we can go on and on from there. For pavement super late model racing, this is that one event. So I wouldn't ask a network to go broke following super late model racing around the country without any sponsorship or backing to it. But just for this one event, as big as it is, and the energy and the excitement and the following that it has, I don't think it would be a loss. You can see you can follow it on Twitter or Facebook or social media. A tremendous amount of internet access to this event, and it's just a shame it's not on TV. It should be. It's almost a crime that this one race is not on TV. Yet the tuxedo crowd gets all their TV time last Thursday night. After the checkered flag waves, Noah Gragson in victory lane for Kyle Busch Motorsports, we all sit and we all wait. I swear Five Flags Speedway could sell tickets to the inspection room. You ever think about that? I wonder if somebody has a grandstand seat for the Derby and then sit there in the inspection room while they do tech, because so often it has been decided in there. Ricky Brooks runs the tech show down there, allows for no tolerance at all, doesn't put up with anything, and disqualifies guys on the spot. That's been the long-standing debate as we get into the upper levels of NASCAR, how the win stands, yet penalties and points get taken away, where at the Derby, the win, the trophy, the check, and the kiss from the pretty girl can all be taken away. They won't let you have it. I'd like to see that in Cup. We've talked about that here before. But the Derby, you really have it. You got an honest and true winner in that race because they check everything in post-race tech. And there were really no issues. We talked about that pure stock race on Wednesday. They lost 4 out of the top 5. But goodness, we waited on the Derby with Gragson. Yeah, came out pretty clean. So that was a story that we all knew was an underlying current when the checkered flag waves. Let's wait and see what happens. And everybody posts the unofficial results of the Derby. And we really want to wait until tech clears before we have the official results of the Derby. So I think is good for Gragson, as he called it, the biggest win of his career. It certainly is. It is that big of a deal. Tip of the hat to Harrison Burton and his strategy and his attempt to win the Derby without that last caution. I think he would have. He had the freshest tires, and when that caution with 20 to go, like we've seen so many times, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you are leading the race with that late of a caution, you are a sitting duck because everybody behind you will do exactly what you don't do. If you stay out, everybody pits. In this case, they did. And if you come to the pit road, everybody stays out. And you've got 10 laps, whatever it is, left to go with fresh tires, but you're deep in the field. You cannot win leading this race with that few laps to go. And one of the biggest videos that came out of this, could you see Stephen Nasse? Yeah, he fought his own pit crew, threw his helmet in his hands at his own pit crew. He is not apologizing for it. He was all over social media as well. Evidently, his team paid some NASCAR Cup over-the-wall guys some big dollars to come down there to Pensacola, Florida. The left rear wheel was left loose on one of the stops. He came down pit road, had it taken again. The car still had a vibration in it. That left rear was loose. The center came right out of the rear wheel and caused him to wreck. Caused a lot of damage to that car. He comes storming back into the pits, throws the helmet in the hands, and gets into an altercation with the own pit crew. Fought his pit crew, not really his guys, but hired guns for the weekend. And he was mad, and I think he's still mad, steaming on Monday. But catch up with him on Twitter. He's not apologizing for it at all. Well, here in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina, a little closer to home than Pensacola, Florida. Big day tomorrow here in town where we have stocks for Tots. And I'll read you a little bit about the event. Literally to collect toys for those children less fortunate, and it is to raise money to help with child abuse in this area. It's a virtual who's who in the racing world will be manning the wheels, as they say, during the course of what remains a heartwarming annual event that takes place here in Mooresville. On the track, as well as behind-the-scenes personality from the past, as well as the present, are expected to be on hand. And this thing started 30 years ago. 1989 was the first event, and this is the 30th time that Stocks for Tots have gathered. It will take place at the NASCAR Technical Institute here in Mooresville on Tuesday evening. If you're watching the show live, that's tomorrow. Hours are 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. We're recording the show on December the 3rd, so it will be December the 4th, 2018 from 5 to 9 at NASCAR Tech here in Mooresville. It has raised over $1 million in the history for the event and collected over 60,000 toys during the existence, really to raise awareness and assist abused and disadvantaged children in North Carolina. Thousands of fans come each year, meet their favorite drivers, get some autographs, some pictures, and a bunch of different forms of motorsports. It takes place in the heart of NASCAR. It is not just NASCAR related. Members of the North Carolina Auto Racing Hall of Fame, the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and a lot of the nearby Charlotte areas will be part of the activities. I won't read down the entire list because it's too long. We'll give you, gosh, we'd be here for the whole show reading the list. But let's talk about this. NASCAR Hall of Famers that will be there tomorrow night: Bobby Allison, Rusty Wallace, Rex White, Ned Jarrett, and Jerry Cook. The current crop of drivers: we've got Ryan Newman, Paul Menard, Joe Nemechek, John Hunter Nemechek, Brandon McReynolds, Larry's kid will all be there. Who else we got? Don Miller, who put this thing together, invented it, will be there. Humpy Wheeler, Renee Parks, Waddell Wilson. We got Bobby Labonte, Harry Gant, Ricky Rudd, Donnie Allison, Kevin LePage, Tiger Tom Pistone, Bobby Dotter, Neil Castle, Randy LaJoy, Ronnie Thomas. Pretty much a who's who in NASCAR. Lots of history there. From the NHRA, who we got? We got Doug Herbert, Buddy Martin, Jason Line, and Greg Anderson will be there. The Motor Racing Network, MRN, will broadcast it live, so you can hear that on your MRN affiliates, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, and WSIC Radio out of Statesville, North Carolina will also be there. Locally, that's 105.9 FM and 1400 AM. Don Miller has received a lot of humanitarian awards for putting this thing together and trying to help those less fortunate. Proceeds for Stocks for Tots will be generated by a silent auction. As we've talked about, SCAN, which stands for Stop Child Abuse Now. It's a nonprofit designed to help children and, oftentimes a single parent within the community. Now, tickets for the event, we've got $100 tickets. If you want to be we'll pre-sell the tickets. And there's also 200 general admission tickets for $25. The VIP ticket, I believe, allows you kind of like a line cutter thing like Disney does. You can get there real quick, and then just $25, you can wait in line and get your autographs. How do you get tickets? Well, call 704-663-5331, or you can come, if you're in Mooresville, go to the North Carolina Auto Racing Hall of Fame on Nob Hill Road. And lastly, of course, NASCAR Tech, their address, 220 Byers Creek Road, right here in Mooresville. And over the weekend, we lost a pretty revered race fan, former president of the United States, George H.W. Bush, call him Bush 41, if you will. Went to plenty of races over the years. I remember him waving the green flag while he held the vice presidential office in the 1983 Daytona 500. And he was a big guest as he held the office of president in 1992 at the Firecracker 400 at Daytona. At the time, it was the Pepsi 400. Big deal was that, one, it was a presidential election year, and this made a great big splash as this was Richard Petty's final race at Daytona. Gave him a big celebration. Petty did. Busch honored him there. And those events, he gave, I think he gave the command to start engines, and President Bush rode in the pace car prior to it. He and Petty, both very popular and well-known Republicans. I remember on the morning of the race, Bud Moore's crew, where Jeff Bodine was driving for him, gave Busch a pit stop demonstration of how they do, how they change the tires and fuel it up during the event. And Busch had some questions on how they, how do those lug nuts actually work? That's one of the number one questions I get. And, just the little details of a pit stop of how everything goes. And he was pretty impressed. And if you've seen that photo online with former President Bush and Bentley Warren up in Kennebunkport, Maine at Bentley's Saloon, President and Mrs. Bush would sometimes venture down there for a cold beverage and some lunch. And Bentley Warren, salt of the earth dude, racer through and through, one of the friendliest guys you will ever meet in this sport. Bentley Warren welcoming the former president there. So if you ever go there, up to Bentley Saloon in Maine, you will see on the wall a picture of Bentley and President Bush. And I remember seeing President Bush at the 2003 Indianapolis 500. Saw the photo online. I remember seeing him at the Indy 500 one year, but I couldn't remember what year it was. So I'm sure there's others that don't come to mind, but just were at the top of my head. So that was pretty cool. Over his years, as busy as he was holding office, vice president and president, he made his way around the auto racing world fairly well. A good sports guy, a good dude. Rest in peace to a former president of the United States. Guys, in between our broadcasts, keep up on the world of auto racing with SpeedwayReport.com. This broadcast and all of our past shows are uploaded on the site. We've got some racing articles to read. I'm picking away a little bit at an article on Brett Hearn. So I'm on the dirt track here in Charlotte a number of weeks ago. Still forming the ideas for this, but I'll let you know when it is posted. You can see our past shows on Facebook. We're on the Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds page, as well as Racers Reunion. You catch me up on Twitter at Speedway Report and at Speedway Pat, and we are in the forum at racersreunion.com. And if you are connected to me on Google Plus and LinkedIn and our YouTube channel, all the shows will be there. Big thanks to everyone on the Facebook Live feed for joining the conversation during the show. Go see a race at a track near you. Florida, go see the Pro Late Model 100 Saturday night. It's a long, cold winter. You'll be complaining about it if you don't. So trust me, go to Five Flags Speedway this Saturday night and watch a good late model race. I want to thank all the military past and present for the freedoms we enjoy as Americans in our daily life, including the simple things like bench racing right here on a Monday night. Freedom is not free, and a veteran paid that bill for us. To all of the men and women who are defending freedom and watching Speedway Report, take care of yourselves and come home soon. A special salute to the teachers, school staff, firefighters, police officers, and paramedics in our own communities. They are quiet and modest heroes every single day. God bless and thank you. You have been watching Speedway Report from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. Please like our Facebook page, Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds, and you can follow me on Twitter at Speedway Pat. Now, if you're on Facebook, head over to the Drag Racing List page. Racing and Rockin' is coming up next. We got Bill, John, and Barb with Drag Racing Talk and some real cool music. We will be back here live on Facebook in 1 week, Monday, December the 10th. We will look at that Pro Late Model Snowflake 100 from Pensacola, the PRI show, and all the news releases that come out of Indianapolis. Thank you for joining us tonight. I will see y'all next time.